MLA. MLA is basically a citation style created by the Modern Language Association, and it's mostly used in English courses. I use it mainly because English courses use it, but also because it's the simplest and most intuitive method of citing stuff. There are other citation styles out there, like APA or Chicago style, that you may be asked to use in other classes. I can't go over all of them with you, but I will give you a resource to help you with whatever style you might have to do in the future as well. But we're just going to use MLA for this course. And I'm just going to go over the basics. Okay, so I'm going to go over the basics of like how to format a paper in MLA, how to cite sources in the text as well as on a works cited page, all of that. Okay, and I'll also include tips on how to get the technology to do what you want it to do. Um, so we'll start with the formatting. So MLA comes with a bunch of different kinds of headers. So at the top of every page in the margin, in the header, in the upper right hand corner, you want to put your last name and the page number. Okay, so each page should have the page number on it, 1, 2, 3, 4. Make sure you don't just type the number in. I'll go over how to do that. Then on the first page only, you want under the margin on the top left, you'll write the following: your full name, my name, the class name. So for this class, it's English 102-HY1S. And then the due date of the assignment. And then underneath that, you'll have the title header. So basically in the center of the page, you'll have a title. Now, for your smaller assignments, I don't care what your title is. If you just want to put like synthesis section or opposition section or whatever, that's fine. I'm not very picky on that. But I do want your final research paper to have a title. So be thinking about what you want to title your research paper. And then in terms of other formatting things, it should all be double spaced from top to bottom, all in the same font, all in Times New Roman 12-point font. Don't put extra spaces in anywhere. Don't leave your header single spaced. Everything should be double spaced, Times New Roman 12-point font. If you like to make the font bigger for you to when you're typing, if it makes it easier for you to see, that's fine, but make sure that before you turn it in, you turn it back into Times New Roman 12-point font. Okay, and then 1-inch margins all the way around. Just basically don't touch your margins. Okay, don't make them bigger, don't make them smaller. And here is an example. So you'll see that at the top right hand corner, there's the last name and page number. If I had a second page on this, you would see that the next page says Smith 2. And then, to get into the header in Google Docs, you want to double click up here and put it above the header. And you'll hit insert, header or page number, hit insert page numbers, and then you'll click this one right here, and that'll put in the page number. And if you want to do it in Word, you want to hit header. Click over here and insert page numbers, and right here. And that'll insert the page number. You type your last name, and you've got it. Okay? When you click away, it won't be showing, but you'll know it's there. And then make sure that it's double spaced. Notice that nothing is in bold, nothing is in italics, nothing is, special. Everything is the same size, the same font, the same spacing. Don't put a lot of extra spaces underneath your title. Don't put, a bunch of spaces before your title. Just basically no extra spaces, guys. Don't put extra spaces anywhere. So you shouldn't have extra spaces between your paragraphs or anything. No extra spaces anywhere. Everything's double spaced, completely uniform. Okay, so then you're going to, when you use sources, you're going to have a works cited page. So your works cited page entries, you'll have one entry for each source that you use. So putting a link to your source is actually not sufficient to cite your source. So you want to give an entry for each one. So you'll have in each entry all of the relevant information that you can find. Author, if there is one, the title of the source, if there is one, the title of the container. So basically a container is like if you found an article in a magazine, the magazine is the container of the article. So anything that contains the source as part of it is a container. Other contributors like editors or translators. Versions, so like if it's a first, second, third edition. Number is usually volume and issue number from journal articles. Publisher, who put this out into the world. Publication date, and location. And location doesn't mean like where it was published. It more means like where you can find it. So that's where you would put the URL if you decide to put URLs. I don't require you to put a URL into your works cited page entries, but if you want to have it there, you can. So here is an example of all of the sort of different ways to cite things. So I have this brochure here, and basically it shows you, in color-coded form, like all details about all the different types of things you might need to know, and then it also has examples of different kinds of sources and how it might look, and that's also color coded to like what is going on back here. So that kind of gives you a better sense. All right. So then you'll put these entries all on one works cited page. It should be on its own separate page. Use the page break feature, which I'll show you how to do. And then at the top of the page in the center, write the words works cited as like a title at the top of the page. And then for each works cited page entry, you'll use a hanging indent. Basically, this is like the opposite of a paragraph, where a paragraph you have the first line indented and the other lines aren't. A hanging indent has the first line not indented and the other lines are. Okay? So if you have more than one source, you want to put them in alphabetical order. So here is an example of a works cited page, what it should look like. Again, note that it is all, double spaced. and the works cited is at the top. And then you'll have your entries here. Note that like the first line of each one is not indented, the other lines are. If you're doing this in Google Docs, basically the way to do that is to highlight your entries and then hit let's see, what is it? Format, align and indent, indentation options, and then you want to push hanging right here. Okay, so it'll say like none, and you'll put hanging. Okay, and that'll automatically indent it for you, because if you try to like just hit enter on the next line in Google Docs, it doesn't work. With the like Word document, when you are typing in all of your stuff, then you know, you can just click on the second line and hit tab, and that will tab it over. So the tab key on your computer will push that over. Okay. And then, you know, so this is what that should look like. Okay. So let me just, so like, for instance, here's a website. You know, it doesn't have an author, so you skip the author, you put the title. CDC.gov is where I got it. That's the container. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention is the publisher, because I didn't have contributors, versions, numbers, any of that. And then the publication date. If there were if I wanted to put a URL in, I would put it after that. So, and then note also that some of these are pulled from, so like if you pull from a database, you'll also have the database in italics at the end of the citation. So, and make sure that you pay attention to things like punctuation and all of that. All right. So you not only have to list your sources at the end, anytime you use a source, whether you're quoting the source word for word and putting quotation marks around it, or whether you're paraphrasing it, putting it into your own words, you need to cite that information. Any words or ideas that come from anywhere but your own head, you have to cite, okay? So, and you need to, basically your in-text citation is like a reference to a works cited entry on your works cited page, okay? So you have to give a few pieces of information, and there's a few ways to do that. So you can have an attributive tag, so like so-and-so says, which should always be in the present tense, not so-and-so said, but so-and-so says, and using the last name only. Okay, you are not on a first name basis with your sources, so make sure you use their last name, not their first name. If you have an attributive tag with the author's name, then all you need to put after that is, if there's a page number, you need to put that in parentheses at the end. Otherwise, if you don't have an attributive tag, then you can just use a parenthetical, which is the author's last name and page number. If you don't have an author's last name, you'll substitute that with a title. Before we get into examples, I'll just show you. Here's all the scenarios for in-text citations. Okay, so if you don't have an attributive tag, you need the author's last name and page number in the parentheses at the end. We call that a parenthetical. So if I say the parenthetical, that's what I mean. The information at the end in parentheses, okay, that citation. If you have an attributive tag, then you might say something like Smith states, okay? That covers, you've said who the author is, so you don't need to put it in the parenthetical at the end. You just need to put the page number in the parenthetical at the end. If you don't have a page number, then if you're using just the parenthetical, no attributive tag, then you just put the author's last name, okay? And then in the parenthetical at the end. If you do use an attributive tag and you say Smith states and you put, the quote or the paraphrase, and there's no page number, then you don't need to have a parenthetical at the end, okay? So let's say that you don't have an author. Instead, you're going to use an abbreviated form of the title. You want to use like the major keywords from the title, or the first few words from the title, or everything before the colon in the title. Basically enough so that your reader can then go into your works cited page and be able to tell what source you're talking about. And you want to put that in the same formatting that it is on your works cited page. So if it's so for most sources, you're going to put it in quotation marks. And if it's in italics on your works cited page, then you want to put it in italics on your in-text citation in your parenthetical. So in that case, you're going to put, the abbreviated title formatted correctly in the parenthetical, as well as the page number. If there's no page number, don't put a page number. But I ask that you do not use an attributive tag if there is no author. If there's no author, don't use an attributive tag. Why? Because articles don't talk. Okay? For instance, the cdc.gov, on ADHD, like the article ADHD doesn't talk. So you can't say, ADHD says, that doesn't actually work. So, just put it all in the parenthetical if you are, using the title, if there's no author. Oops. If you have two or more authors, you have both their names separated by and. Basically, same rules apply. If you have three or more authors, you're going to use the et al. Abbreviation. So you'll list the first author listed. You'll list their last name. So if Smith is the first name in a long list of like 15 authors, right? You'll list Smith, comma, et space al period. That's all you need to do. You don't need to list all the authors, okay? And then the same rules apply with all that. And then if you have a quote within a quote, so like your source quotes somebody else and you want to use that quote that they used from somebody else, but that doesn't, you don't have access to that source. You want to use the quote within a quote. You want to say, so let's say Smith is quoting Jones. You would say Jones states, and then you put the quote, and then you put quoted in Smith 22, qtd.in. And that's how you do that. So going back to the examples, I'm just going to show you, so there's different kinds of examples, and we're going over these in class, so I'm not going to sort of go over this with you, but that's also where you can find that. If you would like more detailed instructions on how to cite work, you can use Purdue OWL's MLA Formatting and Style Guide. So basically, it's a super nifty website that will give you help with, formatting your paper, doing in-text citations, if you are trying to put together a works cited entry, you can click on, basic format to see the basics. You can do, if you're using a book, you'll hit books and it'll give you examples on how to, what sort of information is likely to be there, what you need to include, some examples. And they've got the same with periodicals, so things like journals, newspapers, magazines, electronic sources, so anything that you find on the internet, you can find here. Other common sources, they've got things like, interviews, speeches, conference proceedings, paintings, sculptures, photographs, songs, albums, films, movies, television shows, things like that. So it'll give you detailed information on all of that. And they've also got a lot of other really good, stuff. They've got their own MLA PowerPoint presentation that you can go through if you don't feel like this gives you enough. Just all kinds of things that you can use to get more detailed information if you need it. They also have stuff on APA as well as Chicago style, IEEE style, AMA style, ASA style. They've got stuff on all the different citation styles in case you need to find out how to use any of those for any of your other classes. Purdue OWL, which stands for the Online Writing Lab, is really, really good at giving detailed information. Okay? So I know that's a lot. It's a lot to take in. It's a lot to sort of focus on. It's a lot to sort of figure out, but do your best. I can always, help you figure things out if you do it incorrectly, but just try to do your best and try to cite things correctly as much as possible. All right? So let me know if you have any questions whatsoever, and I will see you guys next week.